Hey everyone, so today I'm going to give you a video about 3 tips to stop running out of time in exams, and this video is going to help you on how you should prepare for this before the exam and what you can do in the actual exam, all in the order to achieve that you go there and do the whole exam and still have time to look and read through your answers and correct anything that is wrong. So there are 3 ways or 3 things you should do. Number 1, you should actually study in timed conditions. So if you study in timed conditions, you get comfortable with the time and you learn to be more at ease in assessments and exams, because sometimes people get a little bit extra nervous or anxious when they know that they have a certain amount of time to do a certain question. Now, if you start getting used to have always that extra condition, so the time there, the clock ticking, looking at you and ticking, you actually get more into the idea that you always have that time there annoying you, and that time will eventually stop annoying you because you are always so used to it. So it's just getting used to having time conditions. So that's number 1, even when you're studying, okay? Number 2 is when you're doing your exams, it's good to always have a clock near them, of course, and do the exams with the time. Now, this one is a little bit harder. You first need to be able to do the exams in the actual time of the exam to be able to do the second one, but you should give yourself less time in practice. So what does that mean? If a question says that is 3 minutes, try to do that question in 2 minutes or something alike. Why? Because at the end of the day, you want to have time to do the exam plus read it back and look and correct any silly mistakes. So if you give yourself less time in practice, you will have time to proofread what you have written and fix any silly mistakes that you have done. And finally, during the actual exam, first thing to do is to skim through the exam before starting, so you have a good idea of how to pace yourself. And I know this is complicated, so you know that you have an exam, that you have a certain time to have all the exam done, but it's still you're thinking, oh my god, I'm going to waste time to read a question that I will read anyway later on. Now, one of the reasons is if you're reading the question, you then have an idea, okay, this is a question about, let's say, energy, and I know that this is going to take me time. But the other one, which is a question about, I don't know, telescopes, is going to be really quick for me to answer. So I know that this one won't give me so much time for me, or I don't need as much time to have that question done. Now, the other thing is research shows that when you read the question, your brain in the background starts working on that question as well. So that means that you're reading that question, then you're reading the next one, but the next time you read that question, you already have a better idea of what to do. And finally, during the exam, imagine that you're answering a question and you have no clue how to do it. I mean, okay, think about it for a couple of seconds, but if you have no clue how to do it, skip it. If it's not working out for you, just skip that question. Don't waste your time in that question. Do the others, and then you always can go back later to that question, okay? And that way you ensure that you're not wasting a lot of time in a question that is not going to give you points, and you actually use that time to guarantee that you get some points elsewhere. So, in summary, always study in timed conditions so you get used to the time, so you don't get extra anxious and you learn how to do things a little bit quicker. Number 2, give yourself less time in practice. So attempt to, instead of taking the exact time that the exam would take, let's say 1.5 hours, try to do it a little bit in less time. So then you actually have time to go proofread it and go over the mistakes you may have done and correct them. And then during the exam, read the exam first to have an idea of what is going on, how long each question may take you, or at least questions that will take you a long time. And again, I have read and heard that this also helps because your brain starts to working on those questions in the background. And if you're doing in a question and it's not working well for you, get those points elsewhere, use that time elsewhere to gain points, and then you can always go back to that question. So I hope it helped, and up to my next video, be happy and healthy. Bye!